So the first segment we're going to discuss today is teaching that new employee how to do a pre-trip inspection of their equipment, their truck, or in whatever case it might be where they're pulling a trailer, a truck and trailer. It's important to mention a couple of things on pre-trip inspections. Number one, we should reiterate to them that this is how they start every day. Before they drive that vehicle, not halfway into the day, not towards the end, before they operate that Electrocom vehicle, they need to conduct a pre-trip inspection of that truck and or trailer. The second thing we need to discuss is how do they document that pre-trip inspection. And here at Electrocom, although it's not an FMCSA requirement, we use a pre-trip pad, and all y'all I know have seen these before. This is kind of a checklist that you can go down and make sure that you check the things you need to check. And then this is also serves as documentation in the event something bad would happen during that day, you know, an accident, something of that nature, then we have documented that we did what we were required to do. We did a pre-trip inspection before we started that day. So that's the first document we're going to talk about. The second document that we'll talk about, as they're doing their pre-trip inspection on the truck and trailer, and they find a defect or they find a deficiency, let's say that they find a crack in the windshield, they are now required to do what's called a DVIR. That's a driver vehicle inspection report. These will be in their truck, and again, it's only in the event of a defect or a deficiency. So what we're going to do is during this practical exercise, when you're teaching this new employee, we're going to teach them how to do the pre-trip, how to fill out the pre-trip pad, but we're also going to teach them, if they find a defect, how they're supposed to complete this DVIR. DVIRs are extremely simple. They're a one-page document, and you're simply checking off what is wrong. So in the example that I gave, we have a cracked windshield. We would simply be checking off on windshield, and we might put down here in the remarks section that we have a chip in the windshield or a crack in the windshield. And then we would go down here below. There are 3 required signatures that you need to instruct them on. The driver is going to sign the first signature because they're the ones that found the defect. The mechanic or whoever the repair person is, if one of these businesses that install windshields, whoever it might be, they're going to sign the second signature line. And the third signature line will be that driver coming back, verifying that the defect has been repaired. The important thing we want to teach them about the DVIR is not only filling it out, when to fill it out, how to fill it out, but where does it go once it's completed. That's extremely important. By FMCSA regulation, we are required to retain that copy. So they need to take the white copy of the DVIR. It needs to be either mailed or scanned and emailed, or if they have access to B2W Inform, they can do that form on B2W. But it needs to be sent in here to the Paoli shop, and we have to retain that document per FMCSA requirements. So that's a little bit about the DVIR and what we're going to talk to them about. You all will get a checkoff form, if you will, that kind of shows the high points of what you need to be covering with the new employee in each segment. So, for example, we're talking about pre-trip. There's part of this form here that talks about you need to demonstrate this and show the employee and make sure the employee demonstrates it and understands it and knows how to do it. So you don't have to commit all this to memory. You can simply go down this form, which I will provide for you, and it tells you what you should be covering with that new hire in order to complete that segment. So the first segment we're going to talk about, I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate it for you because this is what you should be doing with the new employee. You should be demonstrating it, and then you should also be walking around and allowing them to do the same on the vehicle to show that they understand the skill that is being taught to them. So the first thing we need to talk about, again, is pre-trip inspection. We're going to use our document here. It is also important to note the circle of safety. Anytime an employee, and they need to understand this is one of the checkoffs, anytime an employee is operating anything machine-wise, whether it's a mini, whether it's a truck, whatever it might be, they are required to conduct what's called a circle of safety. Okay, so a circle of safety is simply making a pass around that vehicle to make sure that all the conditions are safe, that there's no obstructions, there's no one parked around it, there's no one standing behind it, that there's nothing that's going to cause any hazard to anyone around that vehicle. So while they're doing their pre-trip inspection, they are theoretically completing a circle of safety as well. They're checking for any obstructions, for anything that might cause a problem. So that's important that we note that to them. Okay, so we're going to start on this pre-trip inspection that you're going to be demonstrating for the new employee, and you're going to be allowing them to do some portion of this just so they understand the process. Again, they will do this every single day prior to operating an Electrocom truck and trailer. The FMCSA has some requirements as far as what you have to check during a pre-trip inspection. I have those listed on this document for you. You don't have to commit these to memory. You'll have this in hand as you're instructing the new employee, but you have to check service brakes, including your trailer brake connections. You have to check the parking brake, lighting devices and reflectors. That's basically all of your lights on the vehicle. The tires, the horn, the windshield wipers, the rear view mirror, the side mirrors, any coupling devices, which is your trailer hookup, wheels and rims, and emergency equipment, which emergency equipment on a commercial motor vehicle is your fire extinguisher and your reflector triangles. Again, that's listed on this document here. You'll have that with you. You don't have to commit it to memory, but those are the things they are required to check during a pre-trip. So basically what I would do as you're instructing them to do the pre-trip, there's a couple of important things. Number one, they do it in a safe location. They can do it in the hotel parking lot, in a yard, in their driveway, wherever that truck and trailer may be. Number two, that they do a pre-trip inspection, obviously, and that they document it properly on the pre-trip pad from Electrocom. So that's a couple of the more important things that they need to be sure that they understand before they do the pre-trip inspection. And I would say the third most important thing is that they understand they need to do it the same way every time. If this becomes repetition and they do it the same way and they start at the same place every time, they are much more likely to not miss important components. So what I usually teach them to do is to start a pre-trip inspection at the front of the truck. So basically, if they've got a crew, they got a passenger with them that can help them during this process, that helps a lot. Be sure you encourage them to be a good team member, to help during a pre-trip, but also to not be afraid to ask for help during a pre-trip inspection. Typically, I would have them start right here at the front of the vehicle, and I would have them simply go through a light check. That's going to be the first step of the pre-trip inspection. Headlights, turn signals, your hazards, your windshield wipers, your headlights, you're going to check low beam, high beam, your windshield wipers, your washer fluid, and your horn. And you're basically just going to do a brief inspection, if you will, a visual inspection of the front of that truck to make sure that the lights are working, the windshield wipers, the windshields doesn't have any obstructions, any cracks, it's cleaned off, it's ready to go, the horn's working properly. So from there, they will walk down the driver's side of the vehicle. As they start walking down the driver's side of the vehicle, I would tell them to go ahead and check the tires. They can kick the tire with the bottom of their foot, not with the toe. Make sure that it's got air. They want to check and then visually inspect the tread to make sure that they're not worn dangerously thin on the treads. They also need to make sure that they check the wheel. These treads, it's important to mention, they get 4/32 of an inch in the tread grooves. They can't be any less than that by FMCSA regulation. They can use these open wheel wells as kind of a window, if you will, to visually inspect other parts of the truck, like the steering, the suspension, those types of things. So I would encourage them also to kind of give a glance inside there to make sure everything's okay. So they're going to check here, they're going to check their tires, they're going to check for any rips or tears or bumps or any dangerously worn thin tread. They're going to make sure that their wheel fasteners are in place, that they don't have a wheel hub that's leaking, they don't see any fluids that are leaking out from under the motor, and then they're just going to continue to work their way back. I encourage them as they do pre-trips to use their hands and feet. They can grab a hold of stuff, they can check stuff, make sure it's secure, they can make sure the running boards are secure. Another thing they want to take a look at, explain to them the annual inspection requirement. Every truck and trailer, commercial motor vehicle by FMCSA regulation, has to be inspected annually to make sure that vehicle is safe. They should have a red label, is what we use here at Electrocom, affixed to the side of the truck, and that provides the date that the annual inspection was completed. This one, for example, was completed in July of 2021. It's good for a year, so this is good until July of 2022. That's something they should be checking. So as they're making their way back through the truck, they're touching things, they're checking things, they're making sure everything is okay to operate. They're checking side bins, make sure that they don't come open. A good thing to check here, on this particular truck, it's going to be the next bin back, but they can check the fire extinguisher to make sure that the fire extinguisher is compliant. We'll get to that back here. Also, the reflective triangles. A lot of times those are under the rear seat, or they might be in a side bin, but they need to ensure that there are 3 reflective triangles in that commercial motor vehicle. So as I get back here, I come across another a dual set back here, so another couple of tires and a couple of wheels. I'm going to be checking the wheel fasteners. I'm going to be checking the tread depth. I'm going to be making sure there's no rips or tears or bumps or any defects. I can't see belt on the tires anywhere. A little bit different with the dual set. You have to make sure there's no obstructions. So when it's safe to do so, the vehicle is not running, it's in park, nobody's sitting behind the driver's seat. They can check in between these duals and make sure that there's no obstructions, there's nothing wedged in between that dual set. Again, they're checking the wheels, they're checking all that back here. They're also checking the bins. When they get back to this bin back here, they can, this is fire extinguishers in here, so they can open it up. And as we see, our fire extinguisher is in here like it's supposed to be. They need to understand that the requirements of a fire extinguisher by DOT regulation is charged, secured, and accessible. So this one is secured, it's charged because I can see the charging window, it's in the green, and it's obviously accessible. They can get back to this fire extinguisher quickly.